Next, there's no rest for the Mythbusters.
Today's myth is that driving tired is actually more dangerous than driving tipsy.
Even more dangerous.
That's the idea. Apparently, being sleep deprived impairs the brain more than a couple of beers.
I heard that every year, thousands of car accidents happen because people lose concentration due to tiredness.
Then that's definitely something we should look into.
Absolutely.
Drinking and driving is a dangerous combination. But could getting behind the wheel, sleep deprived, really be more risky than driving tipsy? Both are technically legal, but which is more dangerous?
Okay, so we need to design a course with all sorts of obstacles and hazards and various challenges. First, drive it tipsy, say just under the legal limit, and then again, really, really tired, like we stay up for 24 hours.
All right, well, one of us has to be the sober one, so why don't you two do all the drinking, staying up all night, and driving, and I'll figure out the course.
All right, well, before we start testing, why don't we learn a little bit more about sleep?
What are you gonna do, go take a nap?
I need a little practice.
Yep, before they hit the road, they want to know exactly why a lack of sleep could spell dangerous driving.
We've come to the UCSF Sleep Disorder Center so that we can investigate the science of sleep.
All right, Alex, we're ready for the sleep test.
Now today, Tori's our lab rat. We're going to hook him up to a polysomnogram so that we can monitor his brain waves. Well, he's both drowsy and really well rested.
Can you tell me a bedtime story?
Okay, Dr. Clayman, what happens if we don't get enough sleep?
Well, you end up getting irritable. It's harder to pay attention to things. Your brain function is very different when you're sleepy compared to when you're rested and alert.
Indeed, because it's clear Tori's brainwaves when awake, surprisingly, are far more active than when he's drowsy. And for the purposes of our test, Dr. Clayman has one very important point.
I think if you're on a longer, monotonous section of road, you're going to tend to have a lot more trouble keeping your eyes open and focused. If you're stopping and starting kind of in city traffic, it's more stimulating, and so it'd be easier to cope with those sections.
Which means they'll need two separate test courses, one to replicate the constant stimulus of city traffic, and another to simulate a stretch of highway where straying out of your lane could spell death. And Grant's found a location where they can do just that.
We're here at the Alameda County Regional Training Facility EVOC course to set up our tipsy versus tired driving challenge. Now, by putting our drivers through various tests, we'll find out which is more dangerous, driving slightly intoxicated or driving exhausted.
Tactical driving instructor Paul Gerard will closely monitor how our designated drivers perform.
Hey, Paul, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And as an added distraction to the obstacle course, they've added a very Mythbusters touch.
Never know what hit him.
At a secret location is a hidden reaction time test that Tori prepared earlier.
A rat. I mean, what better distraction as you're driving down a road, having a rodent cross your path? Now, I'm gonna be one of the test drivers, so why am I setting up my own distraction? It's kind of like building your own gallows. But just because I'm building this distraction doesn't mean I know when and where it's gonna be deployed. That's gonna be Grant's job. But the key here is we have to avoid these rodents. All right, that's it, my rat's done. Now it's time to give it propulsion. Rockets. That's right, rat rockets.
Okay, well, as distractions go, rats moving at rocket speeds certainly ticks the box.
All right, here we go. Rat rocket distraction in 3, 2, 1.
Eventually, with just the right amount of rocket,
In 3, 2, 1.
that will certainly rattle our drivers.
I don't know, I think that looked like a pretty good speed to me.
The Mythbusters are taking a ride on the wild side, finding out which is worse, driving exhausted or slightly inebriated. And they're starting with their tipsy baseline test, under proper supervision, of course.
Deputy Nobrega, thank you so much for coming out and helping us.
You're welcome.
Now this is 45 milliliters of alcohol, and this is an average shot, and this is what we're gonna be using to get tipsy. Now remember, we're not trying to get drunk, we're trying to get tipsy, which means we need to be below the legal blood alcohol level, which is 0.08. Now, a person my size, 170 pounds, I'm gonna need 3 of these within an hour to get tipsy. Now, Carrie, she's a little bit lighter. She's gonna need 2 of these in an hour to get tipsy. But once we're at that point, then we're gonna start driving.
We're doing this experiment completely under the supervision of the Sheriff's Department. We're in no way advocating drinking and driving. And in fact, we're using this tipsy driving test as the yardstick for dangerous, because this right here is as dangerous as anything we do on the show.
It's dangerous, all right. And after her precisely allotted amount of alcohol, Carrie blows a .06 on the breathalyzer.
Tipsy but not drunk.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, we'll score you from out here.
And we'll be hiding behind the K-rails.
Good idea.
At just below the legal limit, a less than sober Carrie must negotiate the obstacle course at 15 miles per hour.
Oh, there's a cone.
Woohoo! 10 points.
Yeah.
And it's clear from the beginning that the alcohol has affected her driving.
Yep, got one on the corner there.
She hits 2 cones within 30 seconds. And then executes a rodent hit and run.
Was that the rat? That was awesome.
The final cone casualty comes on the parallel park.
There's a lot of adding we're going to have to do here, guys. I think this is going to be interesting.
Me too.
Carrie made 7 mistakes on the obstacle course, earning 10 penalty points per error. But she's not done yet. Next, she has to drive her imitation highway lane for 25 laps. But how will they make sure Carrie stays between the lines? Well, with this handy device.
I have a sensor system that looks at these lane markers and knows if it's inside or outside. If they're over the line, a timer will automatically go off and keep track of how long they're over the line, and a light on the outside will light up so we can see if they're over the line or if they're safe.
Okay, 25 laps for the monotony test. 3, 2, 1.
One over here.
Every time the car crosses the line, both Grant's device and the follow car record it.
Been left for a long time there.
Keeping in line is proving difficult for Carrie.
Oh, one over here.
But eventually, after 25 laps, it's time to find out just how difficult.
You're done. Stop. All right, so how did Carrie do?
Well, on the monotonous driving course, she crossed the line or went out of the lane 104 times.
What?
Yeah, with an elapsed time in danger of 58 seconds.
I feel like I was driving consistently the entire time inside the lines.
Carrie strayed out of her lane and theoretically into oncoming traffic 104 times, bringing her final tipsy penalties to 232.
Perfect.
6.
Tori's approach is to will himself sober.
Be the car, be the car. Be the road, be the road.
And while it works well initially, a sudden surprise breaks his clear record.
Oh, I just killed a rat. I think the little bugger got under my tire.
But he does manage to pull himself together thereafter.
Okay, now hairpin turn and on to the parallel parking.
Focus, 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 focus. Don't crash. And we're in. Bang!
Tori has done surprisingly well on the maneuverability course, forfeiting only 20 penalty points. But now comes the boring part.
Sobriety.
Once again, Tori's progress is monitored by Grant and Paul in the chase vehicle.
I don't know, call me paranoid, but I think this white van's following me.
25 laps later, and Tori's tipsy test is finally complete.
Oh my gosh, that was torturous.
Right?
I never thought it was gonna end.
You and me both.
It certainly was tedious, but how did he do?
Well, on the monotonous driving course, he crossed the line 4 times.
For a grand total of 1 second in danger.
Woohoo! The less than sober Tori did very well once again, bringing his final penalties to 25 points. But it's not all good news.
You know, I've got to say, watching Tori drive after having had 3 shots of alcohol is a little disturbing. He almost didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, I think on the surface it looks like that. There were mistakes made, and those mistakes in the real world would have been really significant. For instance, when we fired the rat out in front of him, if that were a car running a red light or a vehicle running a stop sign, he would have just plowed right into it.
With their tipsy baseline complete, now all they need to do is sober up, lose some sleep, and then do it all again.
So we have tested driving tipsy. Now it's time to test driving tired. So we need to stay up all night long. So we've set up the shop with a few things to help us do that. We got a treadmill. This way we could run on it, get the blood flowing. Hopefully that'll keep us awake. If we get bored with that, we got ping pong. We'll play that all night. Plus, we have a lounge area. We got a TV, we watch some television, play some video games, and since we're doing this at night and we don't have heaters, it is gonna get freezing in here, which is definitely gonna keep us awake. Gosh, the more I talk about this experiment, the less I want to do it.
Well, that's understandable, because here's Grant with a disturbing graphic.
So the physiological effects of sleep deprivation are increased heart rate, irregular breathing, blurred vision, dizziness, yawning, nausea, and slurred speech. The question is, will these symptoms make your driving worse than when you're tipsy?
Well, there's no rest for the Mythbusters in order to find out.
All right, so it is now 9 o'clock. You've been awake for roughly 15 hours. You have 12 hours to go until you're on the road.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling good.
Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I think this is going to be all right.
Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see you in the morning.
Sleep tight.
Now what?
To make this test about sleep deprivation alone,
Oh my, that was awesome.
stimulants like sugar and caffeine are banned. Tori and Carrie will have to find other ways to stay awake all night. Our sleepless in San Francisco duo start the night with plenty of energy.
Well, the end of that.
But as the night wears on, the signs of sleep deprivation start to show.
1 a.m. I can tell that I've been up late because I'm starting to get a much deeper voice. By morning, I'm going to sound like Jamie.
And at 4 a.m., our sleep-deprived pair hit the proverbial wall.
Wake up.
I was just thinking.
So let's look at the effects of sleep deprivation. Irritability,
I might kill Grant.
check. Severe yawning, check. Decreased reaction time and accuracy, definitely and definitely. I am so tired now.
Suffering all the symptoms of sleeplessness, our deprived duo struggle through the early hours of the morning.
It is 6 a.m. We have now been up 24 hours straight. I'm starting to see cross-eyed.
Finally, at 7 a.m., Grant arrives with a welcome breakfast.
Good morning, you guys.
Oh, now I know we're truly tired. I'm hallucinating that Grant has food for us.
Dig in. We're gonna saddle up in a little while, and then you guys are gonna hit the road and start driving.
It's been a long time between naps for our duo.
Here.
Your driving would wake anybody up.
After 30 hours awake, it's time to find out if sleep deprivation makes you a worse driver than alcohol.
Turn the sun down.
And there's no doubt these two are tired.
So Carrie and I have now been awake for over 30 hours. And let me tell you, my heart's racing, my breathing is irregular.
You know that sound that the TV makes when it's just full of snow? That
I'm feeling sick, so I'm pretty sure my immune system is failing. I haven't started hallucinating yet, but I mean, the day's just begun.
kind of the only thing going through my head right now. I think I might kill a few cones today.
Well, there's only one way to find out as our drowsy driver hits the road.
Hit that one hard, too.
As Carrie predicted, she has knocked down cones, but not as many as you'd think.
Yeah, she's kind of like a different driver now.
Very different.
This time around, she even reacts to and avoids the rocket rat.
Whoa.
Wow, that was really good.
On the obstacle course, Carrie did slightly better driving sleep-deprived than tipsy. But will she do as well with the monotony test?
All right, this is tipsy versus tired monotony course. Go.
A weary Carrie is finding the test such a yawn, it's hard for her to stay awake.
Cross.
Oh, way over. still run a left.
And every time she slips towards sleep, well, let's just say the line monitoring device has its work cut out.
This has got to be like lap 100.
Eventually, Carrie has run the rings, and it's all over for her tired test.
That's it for driving tired. Good job, Carrie.
But before we get to her final results, it's Tori's turn.
All I want to do is go to bed right now.
Compared to his relatively mistake-free run last time, he's making far more errors.
Oh, we hit one of the cones there.
That's a confirmed hit.
Once again, he mows down his rodent distraction. And on the slalom, even though he slows right down,
There's no tire noise or anything. He's just kind of creeping through the whole thing.
his steering suffers. In contrast to Carrie, Tori was penalized 50 points, more than double his tipsy tally. But will his fatigue affect his driving on the stimulus-free circuit?
All right, here we go.
In the beginning, Tori is alert and driving well.
Science sleeps for no one.
Oh, he snuck through there, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was clean.
It was clean.
But as he loops the laps over and over, his focus starts to wander.
It's the straightaways that give you that bit of time to relax, not worry about a turn. And that's when you doze off.
Eventually, after completing 25 laps, he can stop driving in circles.
Yeah! Dang, that was rough.
It was rough, but how much did the monotony get to our tired twosome?
I mean, you guys are plainly very tired right now. From 1 minute over the lines before to being over 5 minutes over the line, and you being 1 second over the line to suddenly being over 2 minutes over the line.
Wow.
It's a shocking result, but it's clear that both Tori and Carrie made more errors driving tired, particularly when it came to monotony. Carrie was 3 times worse, and Tori almost 10.
So it's looking like myth confirmed.
It's confirmed. Not only is driving tired as bad as driving tipsy, it's worse. Now, being tipsy is borderline illegal. It's incredibly dangerous. What we found is that being tired is even more dangerous than that. So if you have to take a break, if you have to pull over to the side of the road and take a nap, that's what you should do. Because otherwise, you're putting yourself and everyone else at risk.